Welcome to the Getting Started series for PeerNet's document conversion service. There are 5 videos in this series. Video 5 covers editing watch folder settings. Now that DCS and the watch folder service are running, we can use the default watch folders located in C Drive, PeerNet, Watch Folders to drop and convert files. Watch folder service can be set to monitor one or more input folder locations for any files dropped into these folders. As discussed in the previous tutorial in this series, the watch folder service comes with 7 pre-configured watch folder sections for converting to vector PDF, faxable TIFF, JPEG, raster PDF, and TIFF, as well as demonstrations of clustering and large volume conversion. You can customize any of these watch folder sections for your needs, copy and modify a section to add new watch folders, or enable and disable any of them as you need. In the previous tutorial, we showed you that dropping a file into the Convert to TIFF input folder will create a colored 300 dpi TIFF in the Convert to TIFF output folder. A copy of the original file is placed into the completed folder in a subfolder named using the date and time that the file was picked up from the input folder. These default settings and many others can be edited within the watch folder configuration file to allow you to control the folder structures used and to produce the exact output file you require. Begin by opening the watch folder configuration file by going to Start, Document Conversion Service, and selecting Configure Watch Folder Settings. The watch folder file will open in Notepad. Scroll down until you see the watch folder section. Each watch folder is defined here in its own section with its own name, and each one can be modified or copied and renamed to create a new watch folder definition. Let's look at Convert to TIFF watch folder section. Starting at the top, we have the settings that define the folder structures used and file pickup options. The first setting, Enabled, allows us to turn off monitoring files for this watch folder section. This can be used to turn off monitoring of any of the pre-configured watch folders you are not using, but still keep the settings in the file for future reference. The input folder is the path to the folder that is being monitored for files to pick up for conversion. Files are chosen based on their file name extension, and the search filter default of *** will pick up all files dropped into the input folder. This string can be changed to filter files by multiple extensions. For example, we can change this setting to only pick up Word documents and PDF files. With Include subfolders set to True, you can drop a folder of files into the input folder and have all those files in the folder converted as well. The entire dropped folder structure is mirrored in the output folder, including any subfolders in that folder. Set to False if you do not want this behavior. The staging and working folders are temporary locations used internally by the watch folder service, while the files are being converted and can be left as local folders in most cases. If a file does not convert, it is stored in the failed folder for later investigation. All successfully converted files are stored in the completed folder. If you do not want to keep the original file, change the setting to an empty string. Note, however, that this causes all files dropped into the input folder to be permanently deleted after conversion. Both the failed folder and the completed folder put their files inside a new subfolder named using the date and time that the file was picked up from the input folder. This is the dated folder that we looked at earlier. You can disable this behavior by setting Use Time Date subfolder in completed folder and Use Time Date subfolder in failed folder to false. Back up to the last folder setting, Output folder. This is the path where the new converted files will be saved. Now that we know where to look for our files and where to save the new ones, the next step is to set the polling interval to determine how often we want to check the input folder for new files to process. The default is 15 seconds, entered in milliseconds. So you see here we have it set to 15,000. This is a good interval when you have a small number of files being dropped into the input folder regularly. You can make this shorter or longer depending on your anticipated use. The next 2 settings, polling max files to process at a time and polling synchronous file pickup, are included for backwards compatibility and have been replaced with the clustered processing feature for efficient handling of a large number of files in the input folder. The next few sections cover the more advanced or specific features of WatchFolder service, and each section has its own tutorial video, so I won't cover them in too much detail here. Normally when converting Outlook mail message files, only the message itself is converted. To learn how to also extract and convert any attachments in your message, see our Extract Message Attachments video. For more information on handling large volumes of documents and how to set up clustering, see our Clustering Setup video. The Run at End section can be used to run a specific command for each successful and failed conversion. For more information on running post-process commands, see our Run Post Commands video. The last group of settings, Output File Options, controls the type of file that will be created. It is in this section that you can change the image resolution, the type of file being created, TIFF, PDF, JPEG, or other image formats, whether to create color, grayscale, or black and white files, and many other settings. For example, we can edit this pre-configured WatchFolder section called Convert to TIFF to produce a grayscale 200 dpi image instead of the default 300 dpi optimal color image. The resolution is controlled using the Dev Mode Settings resolution. Change this from 300 to 200 to produce 200 dpi TIFF images. To produce grayscale images instead of color, change the Save Color Reduction setting from optimal to gray. This section controls which compression algorithms are used when storing black and white, color, indexed, and grayscale TIFF images. The compression used can have a large impact on the size of the file. If you wanted to use another type of compression on our output grayscale images other than LZW, you would change that here. Lastly, the WatchFolder defaults to using the original file extension as well as the new file extension when naming the new file after conversion. For example, sales.pdf would become sales.pdf.tiff. This addresses potential issues with duplicate input file names, such as sales.pdf, sales.doc, and sales.excel, all using the same name for the converted file, and avoids later files overwriting the first. If you do not foresee any issues with duplicate input file names, or would prefer to only have the new file extension present in the output files, change the value field to =1. That would mean sales.pdf would become sales.tiff. When you are done editing the WatchFolder configuration file, save the file and close it. In addition to the 7 pre-configured WatchFolder sections, DCS comes with 64 conversion profiles, which can be copied and pasted into the Output File Options section in the WatchFolder configuration file. These conversion profiles are also used by our other integration methods like command line tools and .NET Library. You can also create custom conversion profiles. See our Creating and Editing DCS Conversion Profiles video. We won't save the changes we just made. Detailed information for all the available output file settings and values are available in the user guide under the Conversion Settings section. You can also find explanations of all the WatchFolder sections we just reviewed in the user guide under Configure the WatchFolder service. Always feel free to give us a call or send us an email if you'd like help changing any of the settings described in this video. Remember, if you make any changes to the WatchFolder configuration file, you will need to stop WatchFolder service and start it back up again in order to have your changes take effect. Let's test out the changes we've made to the WatchFolder configuration file. First, we'll stop WatchFolder service, and then we'll restart it. Now, if we drop a file into the Convert to TIFF input folder, we will get a grayscale 200 dpi TIFF in the Convert to TIFF output folder. This brings us to the end of our 5-tutorial Getting Started series. Now that you have DCS and WatchFolder service configured and running, watch some of our more advanced tutorials to learn how to customize DCS further and achieve optimal conversion performance. We are always available to help with configuration and answer any questions you have about setup or the product. If you haven't done so already, follow the link below and download your free trial.